Welcome to the Daily Fantasy Basketball Podcast with Kyle McEwen and Mark Roberts. I'm Kyle McEwen. You can find me on Twitter at RotoKyleNBA, and you can find Mark on Twitter at Mark F. Roberts. That's Mark with a C, like Mark Gasol. If you watched last night's podcast, we did listened to it, we did a head-to-head mock draft on Yahoo. Tonight, we're going to flip over to ESPN and give anybody who's playing on ESPN this season an opportunity to see us do a mock draft on ESPN. It's going to be head-to-head, same kind of format that we're going after. I'm going to be using my standard 6 counting stats as my punt strategy. Mark, are you going to be doing anything special as far as your punt strategy or anything for this draft?
Nope, I think I'm going to be using the same punt strategy that we recommend on the site, which is the 6 positive counting categories, which are a little different than when we do it on Yahoo. On Yahoo, you're punting 3 categories with this strategy. On ESPN, they don't use turnovers in their standard game, and so really you're just punting the percentages.
Correcto mundo. Great point there, Mark. Mark's got a little bit of a cold, so everybody wish him well in getting his voice handsomer as he gets more better feeling.
I think I caught it from you through the microphone.
It makes sense. I don't know about you, but I consider this like an hour-long makeout session every night. So isn't this supposed to be launching here for us? There we go.
Mine launched, yeah.
Mine was a little bit slow. But anyways, we're having the ESPN draft window open up and launch for us right now, and then we'll get that shared to the screen there for everybody. This is I don't know how much different it's really going to be from last night's draft when all said and done, because I still have the guys that I'm targeting. I think the things that are going to matter the most is where are we drafting. And in last night's draft on Yahoo, I was picking at the end of the first round, and that was a 12-team draft, so I was picking for the 12th and 13th pick. This is a 10-team draft, which is standard for Yahoo. So for ESPN. So that's good that we're kind of giving you a standard.
Looks like you're second today.
And where are you at, Mark?
I'm 7th. So that'll be good. We're kind of at the different ends of the draft here. Yeah.
We'll get a little bit of different idea.
And Kyle, the other major big thing that's different is their suggested rankings are different, much different than Yahoo's. And so that will allow us to target different players. You know what I mean? There's different value propositions based off the recommended rankings on ESPN than there are on Yahoo. Like where yesterday maybe Nikola Mirotic was a great value. I haven't looked at this, but maybe he's not a great value today because of where they've got him ranked.
Yep, and we'll be taking a look through some of the rankings on Yahoo. On ESPN. I need to stop saying Yahoo. On ESPN throughout this, I'll be adding players to my queue. Your player queue is in a different spot on ESPN. It's over down to the bottom right. The layout's always a little bit weird to me, but you got a good pick history here in the middle. And then your standard player pool over here. You can toggle between the draft summary too to see a bigger list of how all the players have gone. You can look at the standings as the league goes on using ESPN's projected standings. So if you want to go in there at some point, and if you trust ESPN's projected statistics, you could come in here and you could say, oh, shoot, where do I stand in three-pointers and kind of get a handle on what you may need to focus on throughout the draft. It's kind of hard.
Good reason not to trust their projections, Kyle. If you go back to the player page and look at who's number 5 and look at how many games he's projected for, you can start to see why maybe you wouldn't fully put your full confidence in there.
Russell Westbrook, 138 games, man. He is going to be killing it.
Listen, if anybody's going to play 138 games next year, it's Russell Westbrook. But I would take the under, as I guess all I'm saying, on 138.
I definitely agree. We've got about 10 seconds until the draft starts. With the second pick, I'm hoping Anthony Davis drops to me, but if he doesn't, I'm going Steph Curry. And I'm
I got to turn off my music.
Yeah, the draft room music is diabolical. Devastating to the eardrums.
So James Harden is number 1 on our head-to-head rankings, and you're saying you wouldn't take him?
Houston confirmed some of my fears, and I'm not terribly worried about it, but there is going to be an impact from Ty Lawson starting at point guard there. And Ty Lawson was the starting point guard for Houston's preseason game on Tuesday night. So there's going to be less possessions there if everybody's healthy in Houston. So,
okay. And our rankings have DeMarcus Cousins ahead of Anthony Davis by a fair margin. It's not super close. You wouldn't think about taking Cousins over Anthony Davis either.
Yeah. I want to talk about this guy, and I don't. Well, you know what? Should I see if Kevin Durant can drop to you at 7, just to see if people are that scared?
I don't think he will.
You don't think he will? See,
no. And I don't know that Kevin Durant is quite the same value as he is in a rotisserie league as in a head-to-head league. Like, I think in a head-to-head league, I think in a roto league, you can make a case for taking him number 1. I don't think you can do that in a head-to-head league. Let's see, who do you take? You took
I'm taking Curry. He's
number 2 in our rankings.
Yep. But the thing is, I thought about taking DeMarcus just because of the fact that, well, then DeMarcus would be holding down my center spot with those statistics that he offers, and I know that I can get some guards that I like later. Durant did. Oh, DeMarcus did. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Maybe they're using our rankings.
That would be great. So now with 3 guys left, I feel good about that. I'm going to get Durant, James, or, well, he went, Russell Westbrook. See, we got Durant still 4th in our rankings. I'm not, I know there's a little risk there. And like I said, he's not quite the same value in a head-to-head league that he is in a rotisserie league. And that's just because his value is sort of spread all throughout the categories, including the percentages.
Holy bananas. Sorry, I just realized that you got Durant at 7.
Yeah, I just picked him. I was between him and LeBron. I was explaining why he's not as valuable in head-to-head leagues. I mean, on top of the risk of him not recovering fully from his injury, just the kind of the profile of his stats. Like if you look at the guy you pick, Curry, he's elite in a few categories. Like he's elite in threes. He's really, really good in steals and assists and free throw percentage. And Durant is just very good he's very good in rebounds. He's very good in assists. He's very good in steals. He's pretty good in blocks. He's elite in points. And that's kind of his one elite category. But I think head-to-head lends itself to picking guys who are elite in 3 or 4 categories. And whereas Durant's maybe just more very good in all of the categories. Does that make sense? And that's more
absolutely.
of a roto player.
It's weird for me to hear you kind of distill Kevin Durant or mute him a little bit. Like it's not like you're saying that he's bad in head to head at all. I mean, where exactly?
Yeah, I mean, I've got him 4th.
Right.
All I'm saying is I don't have him 1st. Between that, at the very top, it's ticky tacky stuff, right? Like I love Kevin Durant, but you're nitpicking between him and DeMarcus Cousins and Steph Curry and Russell Westbrook. So if you're looking for a reason why I might take Curry over Durant, I would love to have either. But if you have to make that decision, that's why I'm making a decision like that.
What do you think about the fact that John Wall got taken before Kevin Durant and LeBron James and Chris Paul for that matter?
Yeah, I don't hate it. I think kind of with snake drafts, if you want John Wall, that's the guy you want to build your team around, that's your only chance to take him.
I definitely don't like.
That's probably not what I would do. I'd take Durant, but.
Well, and I mean, it's weird for me to really. I don't know what people think is going to happen to Chris Paul. Like that you would pass over him by taking John Wall first. Unless you think John Wall is going to take another jump this year in his production. But, I mean, Chris Paul shoots close to 50% from the field or something, doesn't he? It's like insane.
Yeah.
So
I just took the other injury risk. So I'm really doubling down on I took Paul George. Those are probably 2 of the top 10 guys that you would say have some injury risk.
And I'm sorry, but
I couldn't pass him at either spot.
I'm going to continue to just Paul George, I don't really see the injury risk there. And everything that I've heard from guys like Jeff Stotts, I don't think that it's much of a risk injury wise to take Paul George.
I see what you're saying, but if you're talking about, I don't know, Klay Thompson or Paul George or whoever, like you have to acknowledge that at least George, we're not sure what level he's going to get back to, I guess, is more of my concern than like if he's going to get hurt again. We haven't seen him reach back up to his peak from his injury.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I
guess that's the same thing with Durant. I don't think Durant's going to necessarily be injured, but you don't know that for sure he's going to be 100% of old Durant. And I don't know that George is going to be 100%. Sorry, who did you take?
I ended up taking Andre Drummond and then Gordon Hayward with my last two picks. I took Drummond ahead of Gordon Hayward or Victor Oladipo, who are my two targets at the end of the second round, beginning of the third round, because I took Steph Curry with my first pick. So the fact that I took Steph Curry, I knew I needed some blocks and some elite blocks. So I grabbed Drummond. This is head-to-head. I'm not worried about his free throw percentage. I'm punting, field goal percentage, and free throw percentage with this punt strategy for head-to-head. So, and then Gordon Hayward, I ended up taking him without really thinking about it over Victor Oladipo, because we had a discussion over Twitter earlier today with one of the listeners about, who do you take if you have to choose between Hayward and Oladipo? Who are you going to go with? And Gordon Hayward's just that's just where I'm at today. I could explain it better. It's mostly the extra rebounds that you're going to get out of Hayward. And
and I liked your comment about him being the clear number one option. And we're not sure that Oladipo is quite there yet. He probably is.
Right. You're still worried about Nikola Vucevic maybe being the definitive number one option for Coach Scott Skiles. Now you're up with your next pick.
I thought DeAndre Jordan was a nice pairing with the two guys I've got. He's pretty high in our rankings. I think he fits right in. It's kind of serendipitous that Andre Drummond and Rudy Gobert are right by each other in the rankings as the resident, like, we're going to rebound a lot. We're going to block a lot of shots and we're not going to score a ton of points. Andre Drummond's a little bit not in that mold, but they're pretty similar and they're right by each other in our rankings. I knew that Gobert and Drummond were gone. And so I knew if I wanted one, I probably ought to take Jordan now.
And now we're looking at you've got another pick coming around here in about 7 picks. Eric Bledsoe, Marc Gasol, LaMarcus Aldridge, Karl Anthony Towns. Karl Anthony Towns went right before you at 26.
It's a little high.
Yeah.
I love Karl Anthony Towns, by the way. I don't know if I've really expressed this on this podcast. I've talked a lot about it on Josh's podcast, but he's one of the rookies that I'm really, really high on. And you know me, I'm not really high on rookies, but even for me, 26 is far too high for him.
Where are you drafting Karl Anthony Towns in a standard league right now?
Karl, we got him at 78, which might not sound high to everybody, but I think he's far and away our top rookie.
Right. And then, but even with that, I think our 11.8 points or something that we have him projected for, like, I think that's very conservative.
His player comps are just like so impressive. It's like Tim Duncan, Anthony Davis. I can't remember. We're like, I talked about this last night, but where Jahlil Okafor is like big country Bryant Reeves, Right. He's a fine player, but it's not Tim Duncan and Anthony Davis.
Okafor started off going 4 for 4 tonight to start the Sixers game. So he was balling. There was a lot of guys showing up well on Tuesday. Probably the biggest news of the day. Gosh, we should have started the podcast off with this. Mark, you're up in 2 picks. Zach LaVine was named the starting shooting guard for the Minnesota Timberwolves. After you make your pick, Mark, I'm really going to want to hear kind of what you think about that. I know we're going to have to change our projection for him now with LaVine locked into that starting shooting guard spot. And that's news that came straight from the coach's mouth. Sugar, I can't think of his name right now. Sam Mitchell, who's now the coach for the Timberwolves with Flip Saunders out due to cancer, send best wishes and all that.
Draymond Green was still on the board. And I didn't even look for him.
Sugar.
I took Kyrie Irving. Darn it.
Oh man, this is and Nerlens Noel is still there. This is, man, there's some value right now in this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Kyle Lowry, I guess I shouldn't be too disappointed. He's 20th in our rankings, and I got him as my 4th player.
And I think we've got. Oh man, so
I just should have taken Draymond Green. Unfortunately, I didn't. That would have been a perfect guy to pair with the team I had.
Yeah, because wait,
I didn't need a point guard. I've got Paul George, Kevin Durant, DeAndre Jordan. I could have put Draymond Green with him, and
so you're saying I'd be the dumbest person alive not to take Draymond Green right now?
I don't know. I don't know if I've tracked who you're picking. I just think he would have fit in nicely with my team. I think there's a lot of value there. We've got him at what, 12th? So we're basically saying he's an early second round pick in this draft, and you just got him in the 4th round.
Yeah.
So
where the heck is that? Oh, sugar plums. See, it's on my pick right now, and I'm vacillating between Derek Favors and Reggie Jackson.
Who you're gonna take?
No, you don't, because I wanted to take Reggie Jackson so bad, but I wanted more blocks. I was pissed that Nerlens Noel got picked right before I picked, because I wanted to take Nerlens with my last pick, but when Draymond dropped there, I just didn't feel like I could pass him up. I mean, we've got Draymond as, I think, a top 15 player in our head-to-head rankings, don't we? And I apologize. I don't want to look at it right now because I don't want to take the screen share away from the draft.
No, yeah, we have him 12th. We have Draymond 12th.
I just would have been an idiot not to take him there.
And I was an idiot. I like picking Lowry, and that's fine. It probably fits better, but I wish I would have grabbed him. I wish I would have seen him.
Oh, there's Jarrett Jack is going to be a good player this season, as if he's starting. Like, he's going to be a good fantasy player, a usable fantasy player, but I don't like spending a top 50 pick on him. I don't understand why he's in the top 50 for the player ranks for this season, because they're not going to start Jarrett Jack all season. It can't happen. If they do that,
I don't think they can start Shane Larkin. I think there's a good chance he starts, but I still don't know that he has that much value. Oh, shoot. Reggie Jackson just went. That's who I would have taken. So now I'm down to Tyreek Evans and Nikola Mirotic. I think I'm going to take Mirotic again. I guess I think I can shoot. Do you pick again? No, you're not going to pick again. So I probably can pick like Horford or somebody.
You're not intrigued by Goran Dragic or Greg Monroe?
I do like Goran Dragic. I'm less intrigued about Monroe than you are.
Okay.
Not that I don't like him. You know what? I'm running out of time. I'm just going to take Mirotic.
I got to get
somebody. Probably could wait another round, but I want to make sure I get somebody I want.
Now this is a 13. We should have 13 roster spots on this league, right? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
And one difference you'll see about the active roster slots for Mark's making his pick right now, right?
Oh, I took Mirotic.
Okay. There's only one center position on ESPN, whereas on Yahoo they default to 2 center positions, and then they use 1 less utility. We have 3 utilities. You can see kind of what I'm talking about over on my team setup over on the right side here. Both Yahoo and ESPN default to 13 roster spots. So you got 3 bench spots on both. If you are playing something, I guess we haven't really talked about that this season yet. If you're playing in a daily moves league, it's important to have bench players who are actually going to be actively rotating in to your give you extra games throughout the week. If you're playing in a weekly moves league where you set your lineup for the week and it sits there, you can, especially in an auction league, you can spend more money on your starting lineup and just spend less money on your bench, because you're not going to be relying on your bench as much in a weekly lineup league. You're going to be relying more on your top 10 players, all your active slots. It's not really something you can take terrible advantage of in a snake draft, but in auction drafts, that's something that you can take advantage of by spending more money on your active slots to buy a better player potentially. Yeah, your next pick coming up. Who you looking at?
There is some really good value in here. Like I'm looking at guys that we have pretty high in our rankings. Like Trevor Ariza and he's like 89th in here, so I can wait. I know that he's not a guy that's high on your list, so I feel like I can wait. I think I want a point guard. You mentioned a bunch of them before. Tyreek Evans is really a point guard to me. Goran Dragic, I think, is in that discussion. Brandon Knight, Kemba Walker. That's why I didn't really feel the need to reach for Dragic last time, is I feel like there's a kind of a tier of these point guards, and I can just wait and pick whoever I want.
I get scared. Oh,
man. Shoot, who am I going to pick? No, go ahead. What were you going to say? I think I'm going to pick Tyreek Evans.
And this is where it does get important to like realize that it doesn't necessarily matter where guys are ranked. You have to start filling up your team with guys who you think are really going to help you, because something I'm like stewing over in my head right now is seeing good value guys like Goran Dragic, Kemba Walker sitting there, and wondering why people aren't drafting them instead of taking guys like Derrick Rose, who's an injury issue. You're taking DeMar DeRozan over these guys. Like, you need to get assists at some point. And it's weird to me that some of these guys are sitting there and available. I love seeing Greg Monroe and Giannis at the top of the queue here, and I'm considering taking those guys. But I also know that 20 picks away with Michael Carter-Williams and Ricky Rubio, I don't know if I want to wait. The only reason I'm going to wait is because Emmanuel Mudiay is down there. And so is, you know what? I'm not missing out on the dude I love again. Yes, I am. Son of a gun. Gotta make the smart pick, Kyle.
Who did you want? You wanted Giannis?
But I'm gonna get him anyways. See now, and I'm looking at Giannis, and I'm thinking potential. You love what he offers. He started at power forward tonight. He's getting more rebounds. That's going to force his hand to get some more rebounds, potentially matching up against some bigger power forwards. You love what Tim Duncan does for you, just in that he gives you the same consistent stats every game that he plays. I love getting Tim Duncan on my team, but I feel like Giannis is just, I can't believe how good of a team I can draft on ESPN right now. This is driving me insane. I'm completely in love with
Well, it's really helpful. Yeah, no, me too. I mean, the two things that are helpful is I don't feel like their ranks are very appropriate, right? There's a lot of value to be had. And then you're talking about a 10-team league versus a 12-team league. So there's a lot of value to just be added there.
Right. There's an extra 2 picks every round that are not getting taken compared to what we were doing last night.
Yeah, I mean, your first pick was Paul George at 12 or 13 last night, and I picked him in the second round, in the middle of the second round at pick 14. So same place, but he ended up being my second player because just because of the smaller league size.
I watched some of the Boston Celtics versus. Oh, I'm sorry, you got your pickup.
Nope. Yep, I picked with Ariza. So again,
no shocker there.
I waited a couple. I mean, look, we've got him ranked 24th. We don't have to go strictly off rankings, right? I would have taken him a long time ago. But to get that as my 7th guy, to get the guy 24th in my rankings, I love that.
Oh man, Chris Middleton threw down a monster jam right in Jimmy Butler's face tonight. If you didn't see that, go to my Twitter feed or just. I would be surprised if you didn't see it. Everybody retweeted it. Everybody and their mom. My mom too. Oh man. So Jahlil Okafor, Michael Carter-Williams, they're on my queue right now. Ricky Rubio's on my queue.
Yeah, Rubio. I can't believe Rubio went before Jared Jack. Or excuse me, the other way around. That Jared Jack went before Ricky Rubio. Went before Brandon Knight. He's just really high in these rankings. I don't understand that.
And Dirk Nowitzki, they've got him projected for 30 minutes. Well, we've already heard that he's only going to play 26 minutes a game. So,
and I can understand that you can't always just trust the coaches and what they're saying, but that seems like a pretty big gap.
Yep.
Let's get back to the Zach LaVine though. What do you think about him?
I don't know, because everybody was talking about how his shot was better in the summer league, but then you go look at his summer league stats, and I'm pretty sure the dude shot 38% from the field. So, and that's just my memory thinking back to it. And I haven't had time yet today to look into all the Zach LaVine stuff. Because once we get in, we start digging through for the projections, it's really going to help me understand, is he only a head-to-head league option? And is he going to contribute enough in enough stats Excuse me. Is he going to contribute enough?
Tight.
Thank you. In enough stats to actually be worth owning in head-to-head. I think if he's in the starting lineup, he's going to get enough minutes, but I just don't know. I'm not familiar enough with Levine's per minute stats. Do you have
I haven't taken a look at it today. I think something that we're going to need to be careful of, though, is there was a lot of times he was playing like 42 to 44 minutes a night as the point guard, and he's not going to be the primary ball handler if Rubio is on the team.
Yeah, he's exactly. It's
so I think we're going to have to temper our expectations on the assists a little bit.
Yeah, and last year we saw Mo Williams step in to that system and have assist nights that were just astronomical. Same for Zach LaVine. I don't really think that's their game. I've never. People don't talk about Zach LaVine and say, "Oh, he's a point guard." No, they've always kind of looked at him and said he's a shooting guard. And what I don't know is he going to be just kind of a Gerald Green type guy where all he can do is jump out the gym and he can't hit a jump shot? Because they keep saying that his jump shot's getting better, but I just don't know if it's there yet. That'll
be interesting. I think he's probably, he was definitely fantasy relevant last year. The thing that I don't think maybe the people have made the obvious connection to that I think is important here is, what does that signal if they're starting? They're essentially saying we're starting Zach LaVine over Kevin Martin. I think that sort of signals something to us about their mindset, right?
Yeah, it's all youth right now.
So what does that mean if you just drafted Karl Anthony Towns #1? Like, all this consternation that people had, well, what if he only plays 22 minutes a night and they've got to get Pekovic minutes and they got to get Jang minutes and they've got to get whoever minutes and they got to get this new. No, like, if they're starting Zach LaVine, they're playing Karl Anthony Towns. And that's almost like the bigger thing for me. Am I reaching too far there?
No. I'm all in on Rubio. I like having Tyus Jones on my watch list right now because there's been tons of rumors about Rubio. And if they're literally going to run out Zach LaVine at shooting guard over Kevin Martin, and we've already known that they were going to plan on starting Karl Anthony Towns at center, it just makes you're right. It just makes you more emboldened to the fact that these guys are going to be legit. There's going to be a lot of there's a couple things going on this season that is a little bit different than I think a lot of other seasons. You've got a bunch of good rookies coming in, but they're coming into great opportunity. Whether it's Jahlil Okafor, the fact that D'Angelo Russell, even though he's going to have other people stealing the ball from him a lot on his own team, D'Angelo Russell's still stepping into a starting job. Kristaps Porzingis is looking like he's going to be starting. There's just a lot of good situations with these rookies, and I think we're going to, as a result of that, this is going to be regarded as a very good rookie class when it's all said and done.
Yeah.
Who did you end up taking?
Can I tell you something I'm running? Well, so here's what I'm running into. So I really love the value that I can get on this draft as far as my draft board, my rankings, and just saying, hey, I took Ariza my seventh player, and he's ranked 24th. The problem I'm having, though, is a lot of the value, and I don't know if you feel the same way. That's why I want to get your take. A lot of the value is for smaller dudes. Like, it seems like the guards that we rank highly are easy to pick up. And so I'm left with DeAndre Jordan as really my only real big man. And so now I'm scrambling a little bit to try to get centers and big guys who are going to get me rebounds and blocks to go along with DeAndre Jordan. I'm not finding the value on those type of players, and I'm having to scramble a little bit to make up for that.
That's a really good point. I knew, and I guess we talked about it in a roundabout way earlier when I was kind of saying, like, I needed to take Derek Favors here I took Derek Favors here because I knew I could get guys like Carter Williams and Rubio later in the draft. And that's the same reason why I took Greg Monroe where I did. I actually was very much thinking about taking Carter Williams and Rubio earlier, but we're being helped out here a little bit by there's two teams in this draft that are auto drafting right now, so they're picking up all the crap that gets left, the flotsam.
Yeah, The guy at the top that nobody wants, the Jarrett Jacks.
Yep. Man, Otto Porter had a good game on Tuesday too. Like people were like taking back bad stuff they said about him like over the last 2 years. They were like, I think I wrote that guy off too soon. So
I'm surprised people would feel that way because I kind of feel like that narrative happened in the playoffs. I'm surprised that a preseason game would make people, because Otto Porter had a solid playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had a very good playoffs.
So I just took Gortat probably a little higher than I would have wanted to take him, but I need big guys, and I'm happy to get his rebounds and blocks in there at this point in the draft.
I think you still got – see, that's just it, though. We still have tons of value here. CJ McCollum, Kristaps Porzingis. It really sounds like they're just going to end up starting Porzingis because they're waffling so much on it. The New York coaches keep coming out and saying weird stuff. Like Rambis came out yesterday and was saying –
he's their second best player, and it's probably not close.
He's the second one.
I'll bet if you watched practice, you would say – and you'd never seen basketball before, you would say Carmelo Anthony is really good at basketball and Kristaps Porzingis is really good at basketball. And then there's the rest of the players who can kind of sort of do things, but I'll bet he's already their second best player. Like as they're watching, as they're going through practice and they're watching him in preseason, he's obviously got a lot to learn, and he's a little bit, he's a rookie still, but I'll bet it's, I think it's pretty clear he's their second best player on the team.
I completely agree with you as far as when you're looking at that New York roster and trying to say who has the most talent. And I mean, Rambis compared Kristaps Porzingis to Dirk Nowitzki and who was the other guy he compared him to?
The best comparison I heard for him, meaning the most outlandish, was Kevin Durant on offense and Andre Karolinko on defense.
Exactly. Those are the kind of different attachments we're getting. Son of a biscuit.
Which is like a top 10 player of all time.
There's so much good value right now still. Like Darren Williams, I get it. He's dealing with a calf injury right now, but he's still good value at this point in the draft. Mm-hmm. D'Angelo Russell's worth a pick after the 100th player gets taken. Otto Porter's sitting there. Trey Burke, your boy Nurkic.
Nurkic.
I mean, Noah could potentially be a decent pick this late in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, when you're getting to the point where you're just doing lottery tickets, mm-hmm. I think those guys. A lot of people think of lottery ticket players, and they think somebody who's going to have the breakout. They kind of think like CJ McCollum in their head, right? Like somebody who's poised for a big, man, like half of my player queue just went in 4 picks.
See, it happens to everybody.
I was going to take Mason Plumlee, and then I was going to take Robert Covington, and they both just went. I'm going to take Porzingis here. Shoot, what was I even talking about?
I have no idea. I'm so see, that's just I feel bad because I'm enraptured with this draft right now, trying to think through who exactly I want to add. I wish I would have actually taken Mason Plumlee instead of CJ McCollum. This is the first draft I've taken Emmanuel Mudiay in, and mm-hmm. it blows my mind that people I get it. This is a mock draft, so it is what it is. But assists just shouldn't be sitting there that late.
Right.
Jordan Clarkson.
I totally agree.
Jordan Clarkson shouldn't be sitting here this late.
Hey, why do they have him so low? They've got him projected for 32 minutes a game. I'm not sure.
Where the hell is Myers Leonard in these rankings, by the way? 157? Jeez, oh Pete. Okay, make sure to get Myers Leonard in your queue early. Otherwise, you might just be lost in the wasteland looking for him.
I'm really excited to see what he can do, actually. I know that.
He looked good last night.
It's so interesting. They drafted, his career trajectory is one of the most interesting I've seen. They drafted him as this project guy who was just athletic and had the NBA body, right? big, broad shoulders, and he could run and he could jump and he was big and he could like maybe be a rebounder. And then like the guy all of a sudden developed this elite 3-point shot. And it's like if he could ever marry those together and get the confidence, he could, like, who knows what that could turn into.
What did he shoot? Do you remember what he shot from 3-point last year?
He was a 50, 40, 90 guy last year.
Whoa. He legit shot 50, 40, 90?
Yep. He was one of the only 50, 40, 90 guys last year.
Did he qualify for it, though?
I'm not sure about that. I'm not because it's not really a stat, right? Like it's not a official stat they keep. I don't know if he qualified for the
that's like the holiest. That's like the holiest of the holiest stats.
That's like Larry Bird.
Yeah.
Reggie Miller territory.
Mark Price. Who else did it?
I mean, Steph Curry is probably in there. Steve Nash is probably in there. But like Myers Leonard, this guy who didn't play basketball for like all of his life and then just had like this good big man body and then all of a sudden developed this smooth stroke. Like I don't get it. And so I'm really interested to see if he can put it together or if he's always just going to be one of those guys that kind of like has really enticing tools and never really like fully puts it together. It could go either way, I feel like.
So Stanley Johnson started the second half of Detroit's game on Tuesday at point guard because they had injuries, like Reggie Jackson was sitting out. Stanley Johnson scored 25 points in this game, hit at least 3 3-pointers. I'm not taking him over Marcus Smart, though.
Did you just take Smart? Darn you.
I did. Darn me. Hey, dude, take Stanley Johnson. Stanley Johnson matched up against Paul George on one. Actually, he was guarding Paul George to start the second half. So he was playing point guard and then guarding Indiana Pacers power forward.
It's pretty cool.
And when I was talking about his booty and his hips and his core strength last night, one asked, he showed that a little bit in the game. When he had Paul George posting him up, he actually kind of rode his hips into Paul George and bumped Paul George from like just outside the paint down in the post all the way out past the 3-point line. Paul George had just received the entry pass. He gets bumped in the back by Stanley Johnson. He stumbles all the way out to the past the 3-point line and has to pass the ball back out to the point guard because it's in that way that I'm talking about, where Stanley Johnson uses his body in such a way to dictate what the offensive player is going to do. It's beautiful, man. He's just so damn good.
I took Alec Burks.
Well done. So who do you got on your squad over there? I'm gonna switch over to your team here so we can take a look at it.
I feel like you did a good job collecting value here. Alec Burks was he was my last pick, and he's ranked 85th in our rankings. So if you're talking about a 130 player draft, that's pretty good value. Like I said, I kind of had to scramble though for rebounds and blocks. You can see I stacked up some guys like Al-Farouq Amino, who I probably would have normally taken later, but I was afraid. I was starting to panic that I didn't have rebounds and blocks. The same thing with Gortat and Porzingis. I wonder if next time I will make the same decision you did this time, which was I'm going to take big guys earlier and then just gather up the guards later. Where I was just kind of taking, hey, this guard's a really, really good value. Like Tyreek Evans is a really great value. Trevor Ariza is a really great value. Brandon Knight's a really great value, so I'm just going to take him and figure it out later. I probably, on one of those picks, wish I would have taken like a big guy. I think there's so much value in the ESPN rankings in the guards and not as much in the big guys. I probably would force myself to take more big guys. And
Kyle Lowry, they say he slimmed down a lot, so hopefully that helps him stay healthy this year. He definitely looked like a completely different person. Like he looked like.
Well, that's the thing is I never believe those things where they say like everybody gains 15 pounds of muscle and like develops a 3-point shot in the summer, right? Like that's the big. But yeah. You're right, Kyle Lowry. Like I didn't recognize him. He looks like a completely different person.
Yeah, he looks like Kyle Lowry's head on somebody else's body. Somebody much thinner than Kyle Lowry. But Mark, who's the fat guy from the Celtics? Jared Sullinger.
Jared Sullinger.
I was watching the game that they were playing over in Italy against Milano earlier today. he didn't get in until like after they exhausted everybody that they actually wanted to play. And then they let him get on the court. And I know that TV adds 10 pounds, but it looked like it added about 20 to him.
Your fat joke about Stanley Johnson, or excuse me, not Stanley Johnson, about Jared Solinger today made my day a little better.
Thanks.
I appreciated you sending those out.
I'm sorry. That was a little bit, what was it? Practiced. I tweeted that earlier. Ha ha ha.
No, I would say I very much enjoyed the jokes throughout the day. You made a few of them.
Thanks.
And
midday basketball is the greatest thing ever. So
here's the thing. How can Jared Solinger be overweight? Like, how many times has he been suspended's not the right word, because that's not exactly what it was, but just like, you're not playing until you get into shape. Go get into shape. And he's not in shape again. I'm sorry, I don't want a guy who's just like so uncommitted to being able to play basketball.
Fried chicken's a hell of a drug.
Definitely.
Hey man, Al Jefferson said that. Al Jefferson was like, "Yo, I needed to stop eating like Church's chicken or what was it? Or was it Popeyes or something like that?" Like he literally came out and said that this summer. He said, "I lost like 30 pounds because I stopped eating fried chicken."
That's hilarious. It's kind of like when Ricky Williams quit football because he didn't want to stop smoking marijuana. We're going to get to the point where Jared Solinger just retires because he doesn't want to quit eating fried chicken.
See, most people get fat and lazy on marijuana, though, and at least Ricky Williams was just like growing his beard out, you know? He still stayed in shape. No. And was still a boss.
It was hilarious, though. Like, they basically said, like, you can choose. I mean, it kind of got to the point in his career where he could choose. Like, you can keep smoking marijuana or you can play football for millions of dollars. And he was like, I'm good.
Give me the weed.
I'm going to retire. Yeah. I feel like we're headed down the same road with Solinger. Like, whatever his food vice is, he'd be like, I'll take the donuts over pro basketball. I've played for a few years. I'm done here.
This is so weird to me. CJ McCollum's like my most droppable player. And I love him.
You do love him.
Like, when I'm looking at my team, the only thing that I'm even slightly worried about is blocks. But yeah, you know what? You're right, man. You just got to get blocks from like some good sources in these ESPN leagues, man. I'm gonna take that down. So
I think it's almost like a little too enticing, the guard value that they have. Like, as I was taking Lowry and Evans and Ariza and feeling like, hey, I'm getting guys that are really, really high on my draft board, and I'm getting them in the 5th and 6th and 7th rounds. What I should have been doing is saying, hey, I'll get 2 of those guys instead of 4, but I'm going to pick up a Derek Favors or, I don't know, a guy like that. And I think you did that a little better than I did, but next time that's probably what I'm going to do, so that I'm not forced at the end of my draft to take Al-Farouq Amino, Morsin Gortat, Porzingis, and Nurkic all in a row just to try to make up for the rebounds that I missed out and the blocks that I missed out on.
Paul George, 32 points, 5 of 9 from 3-point tonight. Caldwell Pope, 6 of 7 from 3-point, 7 of 9 from the field.
Who's guarding Paul George?
To start the game, I think it was Markieff Morris.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Marcus Morris, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Marcus Morris. Yeah. Which I'm actually falling in love with him. He's out there hustling, man.
You like Morris, or is that who you're talking about, or are you talking about Stanley Johnson?
Marcus Morris. I mean, I love Stanley Johnson. 34 minutes, 8 of 17 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3-point, 7 of 9 from the free throw line. The kid goes to the rack. Like, 4 assists, 3 rebounds, 2 steals, 6 turnovers. But he was playing point guard. Whatever. Yeah. 26 points. I get it. It's preseason. I get it. But Pacers, people are considering the Pacers a playoff team. Granted, they didn't play their guys as much. And Reggie Jackson wasn't playing for the Pistons. He was out with a sore right Achilles. So that took some of the, took one of the scorers out of the lineup, out of the rotation. But anyways, we don't need to go through all the box scores and whatnot. Mirotic had a good night. really, there's a lot of stuff to like. We'll kind of do like a preseason roundup here over one of the next couple of podcasts. But Mark, do you have any kind of news or big news that you want to make a point to share or anything?
Nope. I think Zach LaVine's the interesting thing. We'll get some information out on him probably tomorrow. I would say let's try to.
Well,
try to take a look at that?
Are you drafting him or adding him in any league, like standard leagues right now?
I guess not in an ESPN draft. I would have thought about him as my last pick, but when you can grab Porzingis or Burks, I don't see why bothering with it, But in a Yahoo league like last night, I probably would have added him.
Right, those deeper leagues. He had
some really awesome last year.
Yep.
I'm hesitant because, like I said, those were weird lineups where they had like 6 guys and nobody else could dribble, and as LaVine would get like 12 assists. And I just don't think that's going to happen again. But we've seen him have good fantasy production before, and I'm excited to see what he can do this year.
Yeah, I think it's cool as heck that we're at least going to be able to watch Zach LaVine start at shooting guard for the Timberwolves this season. George Hill did leave the Pacers game against Detroit with a minor ankle injury, so keep that in mind. There's also some other ticky-tack stuff that came up, but the LaVine's really the biggest news from the day. So that's what you're gonna if you're playing in a deeper
don't
league,
draft Kevin Martin, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully you weren't doing that anyway, but definitely don't do that now.
Yep. Not drafting Kevin Martin. The Rockets did throw out a lineup of Patrick Beverley with Ty Lawson in the backcourt, and then in the front court, Clint Capella and Dwight Howard. So
how did Capella do tonight?
I didn't actually see. We can take
I'm gonna check it. Take a quick look. Capella had 27 minutes. He had 8 rebounds, 2 steals, 0 blocks, and 8 points. He missed both of his free throws. He's in regular season form.
No blocks. Don't like that.
Yeah, that's a little disappointing. Blocks are a little. There's some variance in blocks. He had a couple of steals though.
So we saw Lawson get 2 assists, just 2 assists, no turnovers though. That's an underrated thing about Lawson, man. 9 category rotisserie leagues, Lawson will not get turnovers. He had the second best assist to turnover ratio last season, right behind Chris Paul.
And Chris Paul is historic. Like,
yeah,
he's one of the best 5 guys of all time, probably.
Dwight Howard, has your opinion changed on him? That's the last thing I wanted to talk about, actually. Like,
no.
So, I mean, obviously you don't draft him in rotisserie leagues, but head to head, are you touching him at all this year? You're fine.
Yeah. The hard thing is, I feel like there's not a lot of value just because of where he's ranked, but like if I get to the point where maybe he's a guy that I should have gone and grabbed today. And in fact, like I should have reached down a little bit when I was grabbing those real big value guys on my team. I still feel like he's going to get double-digit rebounds. He's going to get a lot of blocks. He's good. He's very good at steals. I don't know. There's injury risk there, and I worry about that. Beyond that, I think he could fit right in there with the DeAndre Jordan and the Rudy Gobert and the Andre Drummond class of guys. And maybe you can get him a little later.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can definitely get Dwight pretty late in drafts this year. He only played 41 games last year, if I remember correctly, and that's the issue here is how much are they going to limit Dwight Howard's games this year? Is he going to suffer random injuries to his knee like he did last season? Is he still going to deal with back stuff, nerve damage type junk? I'm not willing to take – I haven't found myself in a position where I actually feel comfortable taking Dwight Howard.
I guess I'm the same, but at the same point, I would feel a lot better if he was on my team instead of Trevor Ariza at this point.
Because due to the way your team is built, yeah. Yep,
I think Trevor Ariza has more value in a vacuum, but I would switch them if I could. And,
Totes. Well, we'll have a lot more news coming. You know, if you listen to the podcast over the last couple of years, you knew that we're going to come with it with all the news every night. As we've launched it this week, we've kind of focused on some of the strategy stuff, the mock drafts and whatnot, featuring our rankings and things like that. Again, Mark and I have our website at dailyfantasybasketballpodcast.com. You can go visit us there. You can find me on Twitter at at RotoKyleNBA. Mark, where can they find you on Twitter?
You can find me at Mark F. Roberts, and Mark is spelled with a C. And a lot of people have Kyle, and they're looking for their custom ranks. And I sent out 10 or 15 this morning. There were some really interesting ones. There was a couple of people playing with like technical fouls and flagrant fouls, and we even have projections for those categories. So definitely send those through. I gotten a couple in the last hour or so, but until then, we send out all the dozens of requests that we've gotten. So if you have a custom league you're drafting soon, let us know and we'll get you some rankings.
That's Ringo for anybody who can hear that howling. Actually, that's Raul Neto.
You invited him over for a party?
Yeah, he's couch surfing with me this week. So
perfect.
All right, yeah, catch us on Twitter.
I was hoping that was your roommate that you were snapping at.
No, it was the dog. Apparently somebody's outside. Okay. But anyways, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. We love you, and we'll be here again tomorrow night. So thanks a lot, and have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.